Oh, thank you so much. It's really interesting to hear the background of what's happening, because to us it just all seems so smooth. Like we just thought, wow, look at this bank. They just cranked out 1,000 phones to us. So it's really interesting to hear that. It's great. So yeah, hi, thank you for having me here. I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate the support we've got. You're still holding the record for the most amount of phones ever sent in once, and the most amount of phones sent all together. So you've got both records right now with us. So you're killing it. It's great. So yeah, DV Safe Phone. So I'd love to say I sat down and did a whole big business plan and thought, well, I'm going to do this really good thing and make a change and help people. Truth is, that's a lie. I worked in corporate in IT. And in fact, I was on a Commonwealth Bank contract through an integrator. COVID hit, and all my travel, it used to be to Melbourne a lot, and Sydney, and over to Singapore with Singtel Group that I was part of as well. All the travel stopped, and I loved it. I'm like, this is fantastic. No more flights, no more planes. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So I thought, well, I've got all this extra time on my hands now. What am I going to do? So we decided literally just to clean up the house and fill the car with goods to donate to charity. So that was a grudge. So we loaded up the car, and I got lazy. I thought, I cannot be bothered driving it literally 5 minutes up the road. I lived on the Sunshine Coast, so while Sydney and Melbourne had, you guys had probably been in lockdown for 100 days by this stage, we were free as a bird. So suddenly I've loaded the car up, was going to take it 5 minutes up the road, and thought, I'll do it tomorrow. Like, there's no rush, like, it's fine. That night we went into lockdown. I'm like, oh, damn it. It looks like junk. It wasn't junk. It was stuff that we did want to pass on. And I thought, well, someone's got to want it, and now everything's been shut down. So what am I going to do? And I was quite heavily involved in chambers of commerce in my area, and I'd met a lot of people in there, and one lady was an ex-police senior sergeant who dealt with domestic violence. And she was literally the only person I could think of in my entire network, locally, that I could drive within 5 k's to give her these goods. So I rang up and said, Janine, I've got a carload of goods. Where do I take it? She said, Ashton, what I need right now are mobile phones. I'm like, phones? Well, what do you mean? Why do you need phones? And she goes, well, in domestic violence, we can have the best safety and escape plan for people. We can have all sorts of support wrapped around them. Police can get involved, agencies, safe houses, hospitals. But it's the victim's phone that's tracked, monitored, or taken. And it's a form of isolation. It means they cannot reach out for help. I'm like, oh my God, well, I've got 2 phones here in my drawer, and one of these, coming from IT, it's like you want the latest tech all the time. So I always had the latest phone. The old one would just go in the drawer. It was even too old for my kids. They're like, Dad, we don't want that. That's like 3 revisions old. So it sat in the drawer. And I said, look, I've got 2 phones here. They're perfect. You can have them. And she goes, well, those phones could save lives. And that's where we started. I said, oh, okay, well, let me reach out to my network, but I just want to help me understand this problem. And she said, okay. I said, well, how many phones do you need? She said, you'll never get me enough phones. I'm like, oh, really? Want to bet? And I'm thinking 80 or 100. I said, all right, give me a number. She said to me, there's over 2 million victims of domestic violence. I'm like, 2 million? That's a huge number. Like, okay, I can't guarantee 2 million, but I can make a start and see what I can get. But I just want to be really clear with everyone when I reach out, what countries are you going to send all these phones to? And she said, countries? I said, well, you said 2 million people, so everyone's going to want to know where they end up. And she said, Ashton, what rock are you living under? This is just here in Australia. And that floored me. I said, are you sure? Like, there's only 25 million people here, and you're saying it's nearly 10% of the population? She goes, no, these are just the reported numbers. These are not the real numbers. So it's actually a lot higher than this. So I said, oh, I can't believe this. Like, give me some more information about this. Like, how long's this been happening, and where's it happening? And are you sure? Because I know a lot of people through corporate, and I know one person who's a victim, one. And she said, you'd be very surprised who you know. So I went out on LinkedIn and said, hey, I'm doing this. Anyone got any old phones, send them up to me. And I just assumed that everyone's old phones would have just been upgraded like mine, and they were fine, and they just put them in the drawer. But I realised that most people's old phones are old because there's a problem with them. The battery's not holding a charge, or the screen's got a crack, or it's not charging properly, which could just be fluff in the port, but they don't know that. So I started getting all these phones and realising that they need money spent on them. So we just started doing it. And I gave it to this ex-police senior sergeant. She passed them on to other stations, and we started getting feedback about how they were helping. And once this all started, I said, well, we're not going to stop this. We're going ahead full speed with this now. So at the time, I was on a contract, as I said, through an integrator into CBA. And I said, and there was an extension for 12 months coming up. And I said, look, I'm actually not going to extend. And they go, what? Why? I go, I've got something else I want to go do. What are you doing exactly? So I told her, and that's how the message got spread back in. And just timing must have been perfect, because I didn't realise you guys were looking at what you're going to do with devices. And the person I spoke to, just the timing just absolutely perfect. So we get a lot of de-identified stories about what we do. Here's one that is a pretty regular one. We've got about 2,500 de-identified stories coming in from police and agencies. Basically, people present, when I say present, it sounds harsh, but the police get involved, they help people get them safe, and then get them into a safe house or get them away from the violence so they can start to work on their path of recovery. But quite often, people turn up to safe houses, and the first thing they'll say is, do you have a phone on you your partner knows about? If the answer is yes, they say, shut it down right now, because we all know how easy it is to track a location of a phone. This could expose a safe house, and everyone's now in danger. So we give the phones for free to safe houses, and they say, look, you need to shut that thing down now, but here's your new one. And the quality of the phones we're getting is quite often the feedback is that they're better, way better than the phone the victim's currently using, because their phone is quite often already smashed up. So they use it to give people the connection, the ability to keep in contact with their family and support network, and the ability with police. They can use the phone to keep records of what's happening around the domestic violence, because it's not just one occurrence. It takes on average 8 or 9 occurrences a DV before people have the confidence and support to leave. And what they need is their friends around them. They need the community, they need the people. And if you know someone going through this and they're pushing you away, don't take it personally. You know, they're trying to deal with the crisis, and it's not always physical. In fact, it's quite often not physical. We get stories back where people say, I wish my partner just hit me because no one will believe my story. So just stand there with those people who you might suspect are going through something, and just be there for them when they're ready to reach out and get the support. So how's it work? Basically, we get mobile phones in and we provide them out as safe phones. We've got 1,100 of these collection boxes around the country now, where people are dropping all their old phones into. They come in all shapes and sizes. Yours come in really nice, well-packed boxes, but others come looking like they've fallen off the back of a truck, but that's okay. We'll then put them through the system. We've got an inventory management system that was built for us for free. We then charge up to 100 phones at a time in the office. And we've got around 18 volunteers that come in different days, different weeks, and help us test all these phones, because as Sanoja was saying, it's quite an effort to test all these phones and make sure they're going to pass all the checks. We've got now 2 full-time techs who help us repair phones in the office, and we're putting batteries in around 40 phones a day at the moment. Once the phones are all packed up and ready to go, we put them into boxes of 5, 10, 15 or 20, and we send them out to over 470 different police stations, safe houses and hospitals across the country now. They keep those phones as safe phones. Anything we can't use, we send out through mobile muster. They have the R2 certification, meaning the data will be destroyed through their process. So if we can't get into the phone because it's still iCloud locked or PIN locked, at least we know it'll be destroyed. And at the end of that, we have safe phones available for free across Australia, and we're sending out between 100 and 250 phones every week at the moment. So stats right now, we've 1,185 collection boxes, 37,000 phones have come in so far from around the country, out to over 470 agencies, and we protected over 13,700 victims with a free phone. And it's a gift. It's a phone, we never ask for it back. It comes with a brand new charger cable and SIM card. And as I said at the start, it's a really bad business model because we don't sell anything. We apply for lots of grants. I applied for one recently where we had to show that we had 50% of our income to the charity coming through sales. And I laughed at her and said, well, we're not going to, our sales will be like 3%. She goes, well, what do you sell? I said, cardboard collection boxes, that's it. That's all we sell. So we had to walk away from that grant, which is a real shame, but that's just the way some of the grant companies work out there. So what keeps us going? events like today, the awareness of you all going back to your communities, talking to them, raising the topic of domestic violence where it may not be talked about generally. As I found, I thought I knew one person who was a victim. I literally went out on LinkedIn and I was shocked at how many people came back and said, good on you, I've been a victim, my mum, my sister, my brother. And these are people I've worked with in corporate settings for years. And we talked about all sorts of, excuse the French, crap, but they'd never mentioned anything about domestic violence. I'm like, why did you not talk about this? And they're like, when will we bring it up and what would you do about it? So please keep the word spread about domestic violence, about what we do, but just about the fact that there is a lot of support out there. There was a show on A Current Affair last week, I don't know who saw that, but it was a forum where they did a big investigation into this. And they said that every 13 minutes in Australia, a police car is responding to DV. Every 13 minutes. It's absolutely crazy. So it's way more than 2 million people. Assistance is what keeps us going. So over 4,000 phones, and we won a grant for $15,000 from our local branch at Maroochydore, Sunshine Coast. That was about 2 years ago. So that absolutely helps us because that money we can use to buy the screens and the batteries and the charge cables and pay for postage and all the other things. The other things are partnerships. So yeah, when I went out and did that post on LinkedIn that your team had a hernia about that I didn't realise, sorry. Whoops. Motorola reached out straight away and said, oh, we see that CBA is sending you phones. I'm like, yeah, do you need phones? They sent me $40,000 worth of X-Demo and brand new stock, straight up. ASIC 2 months ago, they rang about 6 months ago and said, hey, we've been watching you on LinkedIn. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is ASIC talking to me here. Hold on. And they said, we've been seeing some stuff from CBA about partnering with you. I said, yeah. She said, we've been looking into this. It's taken us 3 months, but you're now going to get all our old phones here at ASIC. And they've sent me 1,400 phones. And now that they do it and you do it, there's literally no excuse for any organisation not to do this. So I use your name all the time. So, CBA doing this, why can you not do this? So that's incredible, like the power of not just the phones, not just the money, all your support, the awareness, but now, yeah, we've got, you guys are the big four. So being able to talk about you being partnering with us is just something every organisation goes, well, if they're doing it, we should do it. And getting us in your annual report 2 years ago was incredible. Yeah, that just doesn't happen by mistake, so thank you. That's all I want to say. Thank you so much for your time and appreciate it.